Lawyers for Human Rights. The Constitutional Court struck down parts of our own detention regime. Time and again, the break on enforcement came not from a want of will on the part of this government, but from the bench. And let us remember who built the shield. When the ANC brought the Border Management Authority to Parliament, the very agency that today hardens our borders, it was opposed by the Democratic Alliance and delayed by others in that house. It took us a long time to establish BMA. It is an easy thing to shout about borders on a march. It is another thing entirely to vote to secure them. The ANC did the work, others stood in the way and now pretend otherwise. In fact, the Democratic Alliance, including the Minister of Home Affairs, who has been praised the other day, have gone silent on this particular challenge. I've never seen him. The DA is very fast to claim victories. They met with Jacinda and his group in secret. They've never raised their voice. Where people were being attacked right in the city of Cape Town. I never saw even the mayor of the DA in the forefront. And we are not standing still. There is now a bill before Parliament that will make the first safety country the proper jurisdiction in which to seek asylum, so that a person fleeing genuine persecution claims protection at the first safe border they reach, and not after crossing a dozen peaceful countries to arrive at ours. Let us be plain about what this is and what it is not. It is not a closing of our doors. Non-refoulement remains, and the genuinely persecuted will always find refuge in South Africa. It is the closing of a loophole, the abuse of our asylum system by those who are not refugees at all. Somebody can preach here and say that I'm being chased from my country for political reasons, I'm persecuted. This bill seeks to deal with those gaps. It brings us into line with the settled practice of nations the world over. And it answers in law the very grievance that the mob answers with petrol bomb. That is the difference between the ANC and the demagogues. We bring reform, not riot. A word on political opportunism, the EFF and the restaurant rates. You forget today. The ANC must now turn to the conduct of certain political parties, because in this, parties are not bystanders. Seeds sown in the soil of our people's frustration can grow into something deadly. And history remembers who sowed them. Let us jog them public memory, because they will deny it. In January 2022, the economic freedom fighters and their leader, Mr. Julius Malema, marched into restaurants beginning at the Mall of Africa to inspect how many South Africans and how many foreigners were employed, demanding a 60-40 quota of locals to migrants. At one establishment, the owner was pressured until a staffing split was announced. The Department of Employment and Labor condemned this unlawful, self-appointed inspections at our beloved Bafana have written their names into history, advancing for the first time ever into the last 32 of the FIFA World Cup. We hail them. They are a bunch of winners, and they carry the pride of a nation. And that coach did not coach to lose, the same as Hugo Bruce. Hugo Bruce restored our pride with these decisions, which at the beginning were questionable. Others questioned because we're a football passionate nation. For the first time, we won a bronze medal. We came number 3rd. We were not even qualifying before Hugo Bruce arrived here. For the Africa Cup of Nations, we were beaten by Swaziland, Lesotho, everybody. Not that those countries are not playing good football. But when it comes to competitiveness, we believe we're the best because we've got a Premier League. They don't have. They do have, but it's not equal to us. We're beaten by Botswana. Pirates at some point was beaten by Jwaneng from Botswana. We're just a throwback. This old man arrived. He made us to eat a humble pie. He put us in the world stage. For the first time, we went to the World Cup today. Not as fans of other teams. We went there carrying our flag. Even though we went out in 3 minutes of the extra time, Canada showed us flames. Was it too late to engage Ngizwe and Pakela? It's never too late to engage anyone when you are a government, because if you are a government that listens, that's what you do. So it cannot be subjected to time. You must understand that there have been meetings that have been convened by the IMC, led by Mamuluko Kubai, which did a sterling job up until to date. That also met with these groups, including Dudula amongst them. So you need to engage, even at the highest level. The office of the president engaged on this particular matter. So we welcome that. We welcome the engagement, and it seemed like they have taken it as genuine and something that they themselves have welcomed. So it's an important act, and I think the tune has changed, addressing the issue, but not advocating for violence, beating up of people and all of that. That in itself is very important. The question of people taken out of their houses, it's exactly what we want against. That these marches will degenerate to violent acts. I saw one person on television from Zimbabwe, legally in our country, and then have been harassed and, in a manner that was very, very embarrassing, particularly because it was only Africans there in the main. And the poor guy showed his passport and everything. And then they said, no, he must go. And then the police had to intervene. So if the police were not there, something could have happened to that person. Could have been beaten up or whatever that is the case. But he was legally here. He's legally in the country, documented, he's got his documents, everything. So such activities, that is what we say that the law enforcement has acted decisively when it comes to that particular matter. Because if there was no deployment and the state did not show its professionalism and stamping its authority, many things could have gone out of hand. And the leaders of the march would not be having answers today if the country burned down like July. All what they were doing to safeguard themselves was to change language, not to be caught on the side of being accused that they promoted violence. And they were not emphatic on the fact that we are non-violent. But from where it started, up until later on, language changed. There are all the hallmarks of July that showed that this country was going to be burnt down. People were going to die. There was going to be shootings, and say the issues that have been raised, that undocumented illegal immigrants are doing horrible things in our townships, I will be lying. I was a minister of police. I went to Kagiso. People burnt down a police station because some guy and some people, drug cartels and all of that, were doing horrible things. I was in the Val. I saw it with my eyes. So a person who marches because of that, his or her child was captured by drug cartels and some of them died because of drugs and all of that. That thing is not a slogan. It is there, it exists. But those people are not marching in March and March because they want to promote a political party. They are genuinely there because they want this issue to be addressed. And once the matter is addressed, the political party spirit for those who've got ill intentions and political intentions is going to come out. And it is coming out bit by bit. So, mark my words, it is coming. People who are interviewed are going to be vetted. They have been vetted with qualifications, even in papers in Ghana, where Ghanaians chasing Nigerians out of Ghana, and the state intervening and proclaiming that all small businesses cutting hair and selling goods in the street are preserved for Ghanaians only. Here in South Africa, we have seen businesses, small businesses, been taken over by undocumented illegal foreign nationals because our own people can't compete with them in terms of pricing. When he sells a bottle of Coke for 2 rand and you come and sell it for 5 rand, people go to that shop of a foreign national. And our small businesses, Spaza shops, collapsed that belong to our people because they cannot compete in pricing with these people. And some of them had to surrender their business premises to foreign nationals. I was in Old Bay in Cape Town as a minister of police. I've seen South Africans selling RDP houses to foreign nationals. Not even renting them out. A house you are given by government for free. Because of unemployment and everything of that sort, they do that. So there's no violence and anarchy and disruption of the economy that is going to solve the problem and the challenge of immigration. Government is acting now, and it has been acting. And in doing so, they know they've got support of the state. Local governments must act. We don't want summits. I saw them in KZN, the premier convening a summit. We don't need a summit. Government must act decisively. Security forces and everything. We don't need marches every Wednesday or Thursday, shutting the country down as security forces running around. And as I conclude, the so-called 600 million that has been announced, if the state allowed everything to be out of hand, but there are rules that have been set in terms of qualifications. We are not going to appoint a mayor to manage Johannesburg budget who doesn't read numbers. That's the first thing you need to look at. So we've got to be conscious to that. On the NYDA, we have said that government must act on that matter. and then we'll get a report with regard to this particular issue of the NYDA. The minister will explain the 500 million Spaza Shop Fund, how it has been distributed, and how is it working out. Surely a lot of work has been covered in that direction. I'm going to address the issue of Comrade Diana at the end. So, Islam, June 30th implications for the country. Yes, there are implications. We lost billions in freight and logistics in July riots 2021. Yet there was no chaos here. The economy was not stopped, even though that was the intention. Trains were moving, people could go to work, except those who felt that they were exposed. And then they closed their shops. And they took a right decision, because if you look at the Oval, when people attacked a bottle store, when there was no one inside, it tells you what could have happened. But business did not shut down, all in all. So the implications are huge. Should these events taken a violent turn, and so on. News 24, Masungwini, I don't know what you make of the numbers. I don't want to argue with you, but I saw people who were mobilized in and around, even from the hostels, marching, and a build-up around Johannesburg and the surrounding areas, and as well as eThekwini. But all other provinces, even though there were marches, but they were not big. But that should not be the issue for the ANC. The ANC should be concerned that there's a possibility that our people can be hijacked against itself and be turned against the ANC on this very issue. It's not a question of there were 50 or 100 or 20. That's the first thing we need to consider. Secondly, we need to read the room correctly, which we agree with the people. Are the issues that have been raised, leave the figures who are leading, are these issues not real? They are real. First, admit those issues, and then, because you are leading GNU, you are a governing party, address the concern. Do not be oblivious and say that, no, they are drunk. Some of them get money from Israel and the CIA. You don't have even, some of them get money from the... No, that should not be an issue, a preoccupation. That reality will come out. That people have got money to mobilize, they can travel. I don't know, these people are using jets or what. Pakela, I saw him in Joburg in the morning, in the afternoon he was in Durban. I said, hey, our is was full, even we politicians, ANC has to hire a jet for you to campaign in 3 cities. Now, some guy in jail from Nongoma can travel from city to city. It's a concern, you know, because we don't want our state and our country to be hijacked for ulterior motives. We don't. But that should not be our preoccupation. We are hard at work now to address the very same issues they are talking about. Me and you, we know the truth about the issues that they are addressing. And that is why there is a conflict of knowledge and data around the question of how many undocumented people are in the country. Stats SA says it is not the numbers that people have projected, 30 million, which means is half of the South African population. Stats SA talks about 3 point something million people who are undocumented in our country. And Risenga, the SG, the Statistician General, has given us that particular data. But others have been saying that there are 40 million people here. You know, 5,000 people when they are marching, you you will think that there are many. Take a drone and look at them. You will realize that there are 5,000. That's why we fight as the ANC all the time with the numbers, with the journalists. Because the journalist will just look at you and say there were 1,000 people there. And then we say you are lying with 20,000. They say you were 1,000 bucks. You were not 20,000 and all of that. And then they start to give you the analogy of this. But me and you and this group, if we get into the street and march, maybe say we are 5,000, we'll make this street look like if you take especially a view, make people to think that you were many. Imapai Chachalaze, there next to Market Theatre, fill that place and call the cameras, then we'll know you were 20,000. Not when you are running around, running amok, promoting violence, doing anything. Marches were peaceful in most parts of the country, but they were more vibrant in Gauteng and Durban, Ethekwini. But everywhere in the country, 170 people were marching. Even in Kwakompo, where a king was installed, the numbers were not as big as that time. And business became business as usual. But the mobilization, we saw it. It was targeting Cape Town, City, Central. It was targeting Eastern Cape. It was targeting all parts of Gauteng. And then KZN. And you were bound to see numbers there. And then in Gauteng, where did it go? Soweto. Johannesburg, Central, and then Ekurhuleni, those areas. And even Pretoria, where we used to have a problem, bigger problem, of a settlement of illegal immigrants, did not explode in terms of numbers and all of that. So local government there and government have done a good work to repatriate these people from Pretoria Central, and they continue to do that. So a lot of work has been covered. So we don't argue with the numbers. The question is, what is it that is being addressed? And that's what we need to attend to. Whether there were 40,000 people and all of that, of course the ANC gets worried when people get mobilized and they respond to some of the issues that we think normally will be blamed on the ANC government, which is what everybody will say. And that is what we are rebutting here. To say that, no, we are in this problem because of them. And now we reminded them. We have been addressing these problems since it came to the center stage. And whenever we go and address this issue, the rate we are addressing it, we're taken to court. Helen Suzman. People now forget Helen Suzman with Motsoaledi in court. And then we lost the case on appeal. The most vibrant minister of Home Affairs who addressed the question of illegal immigration and migration in South Africa. Tell me about Schreiber in GNU. Did he take off from where Motsoaledi left? He only wants nice things there. He steals the things that Motsoaledi have done that are nice. These difficult ones, quiet. I heard Jacinta praising him and I said, praising Schreiber. No, we want to thank Schreiber. What have you done? All what Schreiber has done in that Home Affairs is what was started by Motsoaledi. You know, as journalists, not so long ago, before this election, who was in court dealing with immigration? Nimpraise up. This is the man we need, Motsoaledi. All of a sudden, now people have forgotten all of these things. Human rights lawyers and all of that, nothing wrong. Even now, government was being taken to court by NGOs on the issue of repatriating people. Are you doing that legally and all of that? You can't act in jail because somebody wants you to act. This country will be penalized, will be isolated by the world. for mishandling this particular issue. By that time, these people will not be there. The responsibility of government is to direct the affairs on policy within the parameters of the law. You can't just chase people. And let me tell you, our courts today, they've ruled that anyone can protest anytime. Me and you, we can go outside and protest. Our courts, again, said to us, if people gather and set up settlement, and there are more than 100, you are duty bound to give them settlement, to give them ablution facilities, to give them electricity and all of that. They won in the Constitutional Court. That's why there are settlements. You wake up in the morning, there are shacks everywhere. You can't remove those people. When you go to Bloemfontein on the N1, there were no shacks there. But now, there is a whole human settlement of people. It's a township. It's ever expanding. Now, if you are not in government, you have never governed, you have never led the state, we have established rules here. You must do things and do them properly. But that is not the pretext. The question is things must be done, but we need to remind each other. Every time we are moving and we're moving faster, we were held back by our own courts. And we don't blame courts. The courts look at the Constitution, human rights, and all of that and say, you need to do this. But at the end of the day, the courts also do an overreach. You know this thing of prescribing policy from the bench. People want antiretrovirals. And then you say, as a judge from the bench, give them. You don't defer to government, because government must test those antiretrovirals. Whether if they are consumed by our people, is something that people can have and have. They must be subjected to particular processes. It's the role of government. So government doesn't just do things without checking. It might be easy for others, and they will say that, no, you slowed down. We didn't. And you will go to history and realize what is the constraint. But equally, our people are correct that our borders are porous. Why is it easy for anyone to come in? This thing is as big as even Donald Trump. He said, when I win elections, I'm going to build a wall between America and Mexico. And I'm going to build it with your money. Nina nizathatha imali yokwakha. Nina problem eziningi kangaka. Our problems are many. Zininzi inkinga. Abantu abasebenzi. Economies not. You must take billions and build a wall, which is good. But at the end of the day, other parts are going to suffer. I was Minister of Police. I went to Mangus, Mhlabya. Look at the border between Mozambique and South Africa. And the problem we're addressing there is that our cars were being stolen here and taken to Mozambique. When you are in Maputo, you see a car from South Africa stolen. And then you tell the police in Maputo, this is the car we are looking for. They say, we can't take it back. We can't arrest even those people who are driving it. But it's stolen. Those are our cars. So we've got to sort out things. But when you go there, there is no border there. And we had to bring and build a border in Manguzi between South Africa and Mozambique. And people who are determined, running from hunger, they even walk in places where you tell them there are lions there. They walk to come to South Africa. That is what is happening even there. Border management was established to address that particular challenge, and it is doing a fantastic job. Comrade Kumbuzo's comments, I don't know in which context, but I don't want to interpret it. I think the question of blackmail is when others say that, no, you were in our countries. That is the point I was addressing and I've addressed. That some of our African brothers and sisters are deliberately vulgarizing what South Africans are raising, genuine South Africans, the question of illegal immigration, to a point where they say because they are not here, they see the visuals. They have been told, I was in Nigeria, they have been told that we're beating up people here. We're banning people. To a point where South Africans were being beaten in Nigeria. Businesses of South Africa were closing down. And then we had to go there and explain to them, no, that is not the situation. Because they are looking what? Social media. Because social media was telling them that particular story. So that's what I think Kumbuzo was trying to explain. But we can't also run away from the truth that we're given shelter. But we didn't just arrive in those countries and sheltered ourselves. Some of the buildings which were given to us, we have given them back to the state, like Solomon Mahlangu in Tanzania, the house of President Tambo, and all of that. Those were given to us. We were given bases to train the guerrilla army. We wouldn't have time to do anything other than to train and come back and fight. Our cause was genuine. People are not here because they are running away from their countries. There is war. Yes, in the DRC, there's war there. We lost our soldiers, South Africans fighting on the ground. Up until South Africans started to protest to say, but what are our kids doing in DRC? Fighting for what? President had to withdraw the army, brought them back home. But there is noble cause why we had to support peaceful initiatives, not on our own, but working with others. It was even also vulgarized. We are there because we are looking for diamonds. We are addressing a problem so that it doesn't become your problem. If there is peace in the DRC, then we will not see DRC people here. If there is peace and the sanctions are uplifted in Zimbabwe, we will not be dealing with problem of undocumented Zimbabweans in our country. They don't need to come here. America and the British, when Thabo Mbeki as a president engaged them on this issue, the media said Thabo Mbeki is doing a diplomatic, quiet diplomacy. We've got no business with Zimbabwe. Thabo Mbeki said, but a client state is going to be created next door. And Zimbabwe in the long term is going to be your problem. They imposed sanctions there till today. They banned politicians, everything, and they fold their arms. They don't have a problem. And then they ban the whole country. If Zimbabwe is flourishing with all the resources, people are working in Zimbabwe, what will Zimbabweans do in South Africa? They don't need to come here. They are running fast and thick and fast into South Africa because there are problems there. When President Mnangagwa came into power, after the overthrow of Mugabe, they introduced reforms. They don't want reforms, they want regime change, they want ZANU-PF gone. They want their puppets to be installed in Zimbabwe. We are sitting with a problem here now. Now people move as far as Pakistan. It's far, my brother, Pakistan. Pakistan is far. People move from Pakistan. People move from Bangladesh. There's no war there. In Bangladesh and Pakistan, people come here and settle and have businesses and so on. Somalia has collapsed. There's no country there. And then Mogadishu, there's no country there. They pass every place straight and establish shops here. If you go to Quebec, they've got a city there, they've got guns. You won't even come close there. Somalians, undocumented. Now, these are issues that we must address, and we're addressing, so that our country live in peace and all of that, in terms of these particular issues. Let me come to the issue of Comrade Dinapule, which is the last issue.